principal at Coronado High School. I've been principal for 8 years and in education for 25 years.
And how did you first become interested in your career?
I started off as a teacher. I think what I believe is my my path into education is that I am a first generation college graduate, and my examples when I was in high school of professionals were the teachers. So that's what I thought. You know, it made sense to me. I had one teacher in particular that was, you know, inspiring, and, you know, she encouraged me and just was a great role model, and so I followed in that teacher's footsteps. That is, you know, that's the beginning of my path into education, is just following great role models in high school. And then after teaching for a while and thinking you can, long story short, thinking you can do maybe better than those that are doing the job. So you start thinking, maybe I can do that. So you get into administration, and same thing, principal, maybe I can do that. I've got ideas, maybe I can do a pretty good job with that. And so one thing leads to another, and now next thing you know, you're a principal. Well, I mean, to be a teacher, you have to have a college degree, and then you have to be certified to teach. So here in the state of Colorado, I went to University of Northern Colorado, got a degree in biology and chemistry, and then also got my teacher certificate along the way, teacher training, teacher education along the way, and then you have to get a master's to be an administrator, and so you get a master's in educational leadership, curriculum and instruction, and that's what I needed to get to be qualified for this position. That's a great question, because I think there are many different personalities in this profession, and they all work, and people have strengths and weaknesses. I think I go back to my previous answer when I said I thought maybe I could do it better than those that were doing it. Well, what I found out is I wasn't doing it better, I was just doing it differently, and it's based on my strengths. So I think to be successful in any career, you know, can you critically think? Can you communicate? Are you an expert? You do need an expert. You need to be an expert in your field. You need to study and know your content and know your field. I think that's what that brings credibility. I think working together, you got to be a good team member, and hard work. I mean, the biggest thing that I would tell anyone, including you, is if you want to be successful, you got to work at it. You got to, you know, be diligent. Put in the time. Doesn't mean you have to put in a lot of extra time. It just means use the time that you're getting paid to you know, give it your all and be diligent. I think that's the key. And if you desire to get better and you're self-reflective, and that's another key component here, you'll be a great employee. So starting salary for an administrator, typically you start as an assistant principal, is probably around $80,000 a year, maybe mid-70s, and depending on your district and depending on your state. There are some states, of course, where you're going to make a lot more than that. And then as a principal, you might get a $20,000 raise, so maybe you're in the, you know, maybe you're pushing $90,000, something like that. And as far as, you know, your next move, I think financially, in terms of earning more money in this profession, it's superintendent. The executive directors make a little bit more. There are some other management pieces in between the superintendent and a principal, but in terms of salary, the superintendent's the next piece. But a move from a high school principal would be a director of high school principals, where you get to train and help develop principals, or maybe a director of curriculum and instruction. You know, at this point in time, you understand curriculum and instruction to a pretty high level, so maybe you can serve a district, serve a larger circle of people with your expertise in those areas. The working environment, here in a high school I really actually work with everybody. If you look at my direct report, people that report to me, it's virtually everybody in the school. Now, I do have assistant principals, and they do manage some of the supervision, evaluation of teachers, but ultimately it all falls on me. All of the educational assistants, and then of course all the students and the parents. So that's downstream from what I do right now. I do spend time in my office, of course, working on communication and solving problems, but I also spend a lot of time in classrooms. I spend a lot of time with students. So my day is outside, just talking to kids, getting a pulse of the school, but also in the classroom or with teachers doing the same thing, just trying to keep a pulse on what's happening, trying to be proactive rather than reactive in all that we do. The number of hours that I work in a given week, I would think on average is, well, it's hard. In a given year in the building, if you're looking at 5 days a week, I mean, you can be upwards of, somewhere around 60 hours. You can easily put in 12-hour days and do that consistently for a large majority of the school year. If you supervise games or if you have other events that are happening. In high school, there's something happening virtually every night in a given year. And so I'm going to say maybe around 60 if you include weekends. So it is a lot of hours. I mean, if it's not every week like that, some weeks are less. I don't think I really ever work less than like 50 hours. I would say I've never worked less than a 10-hour day. But those are hours just counted, either in the building or physically working on some, or communicating, whatever the case may be. There's a lot of time outside of that just thinking and just trying to think through situations or problems that is not technically counted as work. So it's a lot. Principal doesn't get summers off. The principal might get a couple weeks in July, and some years like this year, principal might not get any days off for the entire summer. So the hourly wage of a principal probably isn't that good. I don't even want to know, but it's probably not that good. Yeah. Typical day is, first thing I like to do when I get here is I like to walk the building. I like to walk around and just see what's happening. If it's a cold day or if there's weather, you want to make sure everything's okay. I talk to my building manager pretty much every morning to see, hey, is there anything going on? And then the next, I guess, piece of the work day involves email. I get on email, see what's happening. If there's any important communications coming through that I need to address or respond to. And then you might have a couple of teacher evaluations mid-morning. You have meetings with teachers or parents or students throughout the day. Come 3-4 o'clock, you might have a supervision. You might have to go supervise swimming or basketball. Those are the things I've done recently. Maybe at 7 o'clock. If it's a basketball game, those games don't start till 7. You might be able to go home for an hour or two after school before those things sometimes. And then come 9 o'clock, maybe your day's done. It's not every night like that. That's not average, but that's a given day. Benefits and challenge. One of the benefits, the reason I keep coming back to this, and I think most people at Coronado would say the same thing, is it's a great place to work because there's a ton of positive energy from our students. We come to work for students. Really, I think most of us would say that. In fact, I've asked this question of staff. That's what they say. We're here for students, to watch students grow and achieve, and that's the best thing about education. There's not many careers out there where you can actually see the change in students' achievement and their growth in a fairly short amount of time. I mean, a 4-year period of time is in a life, and for you that seems like forever, but for me, you can see a lot. I mean, think about you 4 years ago. You came in here. What did you know how to do? And you did a good job, but look at where you are now, how much better you are. Well, that's the beauty of education, is that we get to see that and experience that, and also that brings us joy. And so that's why that's the advantage and the benefit. You asked about the cons.
Yeah, some challenges.
The challenges are, I think right now in particular, what I'm experiencing right now in this environment, the COVID environment, and so maybe it's true to a degree, regardless of COVID, but it's hard to, in my role, to have everyone be in a good place. Teachers, students, other staff members, parents, be, content. There's not a given day that I don't have somebody that has an issue, and it boils down to not, more or less, it's not good enough. It could be better. This needs to change. What about this? So I think that's the challenge. Is, I'm trying to. I think most people would say we're trying to do what we think is the best thing. I'm trying to gather information from everyone, giving people an opportunity to voice their opinion, listen to all the different stakeholders in the organization, and then make decisions based on that. And it's hard to get right. I mean, for everybody, it's really difficult to get right. And we're also different, and we all have different needs, even within our student body. If there are 1,300 students at our school, you all don't have the same needs or desires. We're here to provide opportunities, and it's tough. And I think that's kind of the root of the problem, is maybe we don't always get that part right. And so people are not content, and they want more, and so that, I think that's the challenge, is trying to get it right day in and day out. Yeah, it is. I mean, so that's a good one. This is definitely my opinion. I didn't become an administrator till my own kids were older. So my older boys were graduating. They were maybe, when I was an assistant principal, they were older high school kids, and I didn't become principal till 4 years later. So my youngest was in middle school. I mean, if they were really young, I don't know that I would want to do this with young kids. For me, and there are people that do it, and they manage it. But this is a lot. This role is a lot, I think, for. I just think it can be overwhelming at times. This year's been different. Part of the problem is, I think in a normal year, it's less. There's more now, so I'm jaded a little bit. I'm not able to get my mindset back to a year ago or 2 years ago, and so it is important to note that, and also note that it's not 60 hours every week. I don't want anyone to think that. There are weeks where it's 60 hours a week, and there are weeks that there's maybe 50. So maybe the average is a little over 50 hours a week. Well, there are a lot of people that work 50 hours a week. I mean, there's all kinds of professions out there. Your dad can work probably that or more. So I don't know. I mean, if you're looking for a 40-hour-a-week job, you're probably not going to find it as a professional. I think we're seeing it right now. It's becoming more tech heavy, and that a lot of virtual meetings and virtual collaboration. And I think that's a change that will not go away. I think one of the best things that's happened this year is we have been forced as an institution to redefine how we do business, the way we do it, how we're educating and it's a good thing. And I think we're going to be able to meet the needs of a greater group of students. So there will be, we'll just be able to meet other people where they're at. I think in a better way when it's all said and done. I see us, having some online school, a little bit online classes, maybe some remote classes, but yet, of course, in person. I don't think that's going away anytime soon. Although we'll primarily be an in-person learning organization, there will always be a part of, from here on out, I see there being a part remote learning, some parts of it, and I think that's good because I think that meets the needs of others that we weren't able to maybe get, before. So I think that's primarily the big way to change. One thing that's happening in District 11 is, we're moving to a more, I don't know if I want to, I don't know what word to use, but a more practical education program. When we look at our CTE, or career and technical education, when we look at some of the push, the things that D11 is pushing, it's more of a hands-on learning environment. I think that's going to be so more practical as opposed to theory. And with a lot of theory going on, you've had a whole experience of theoretical learning, and you've had opportunities to build and create. You're doing something right now, but I think there's going to be more of those opportunities moving forward with our push towards capstone and different things like that, and project-based learning. So I see us evolving that way. I see us meeting the needs of more students because we can expand our delivery, and I think in the end we'll be better. I think the rewards are fantastic. You get to be a part of developing our youth and helping them learn skills and helping them to get better at all kinds of different college and career readiness skills, to use that same word. So that's amazing, and that's what keeps you coming back day in and day out. So I think if I were I would make sure that if you want to get into this career, you got to keep that in the front of your brain. And there are some negatives. I mean, it's tough. Anytime you're dealing with youth, children, you're not a child, but young adults or children, and parents, it's a challenge because your family wants the very best for you, and so they're going to push the district, the schools, and the school districts to give my child the very best, which is a good thing. Puts a little bit of pressure for us to keep evolving and getting better, and so that I think those are the things that you have to understand and accept as part of this is part of the deal, as part of the job, and know that there's challenges in that, but at the end of the day, you get to see and experience and be part of that energy that's pretty unique to this career. There's nothing else like it that I can think of. What is it that they like most, like as far as content's concerned? What do you enjoy? Is it math, English, science, social studies? Maybe it's family, consumer science. There's something you're passionate about. Become an expert at it. Become really good at it. If it's elementary education, become good at learning how to teach young kids. So know your content and always continue to learn more and study that. I don't care what level you're at. Students love it when a teacher can go in depth on a subject, and it does. That's how that's one way to capture kids, if you will. And then the other thing is you're going to have to go to college, so be sure that you have the skills ready to get that degree. And I guess the third thing that I would say, because it's always good to talk in threes, that's another skill that we've learned over the years, is if you're looking for a lucrative career, then you will be frustrated in this job.